I hope this helps. I had a problem getting my weed eater started into the next season anyway. Problem was it just kept pulling, wouldn't do anything. The bubble didn't even want to get hard, which we probably all know what that is, common problem. Anyway, long story short, I replaced the fuel line. This old fuel line is what was in it, attached to the fuel filter. So this is actually the vent line. So anyway, this is what was attached to the fuel filter, so it wasn't getting gas. If I sprayed a little starting fluid in it, which really not good for 2 strokes, it would fire up and die. And I noticed I kept giving it gas, it would fire up and die. So what I did is, you can get this kit. I got this at Lowe's because they don't have the RYOBI stuff. Home Depot does. Anyway, they did have the fuel line, this black stuff, which also comes with this tool, which I really didn't need. I have pliers, I have the other stuff. Also, it has, I don't know if you can see, it's got the D screws in there. There's really you need a special tool to do it. You can make your own. I've heard people make them out of big pens, a plastic part, lighting them, melting them. Other people use electrical connectors. Use whatever works. Just try it. I ordered this tool. I don't know if you can see it. It does have a D in it. It's hard to see, but anyway, I ordered it online. It was like $6. So anyway, these are the basic tools I needed. I actually use this. I don't recommend it unless you know what you're doing, and you don't need much. Anyway, I'll get into that. So what I did, first, take off your filter cover. This little doohickey's in there. Don't lose it. And then the fuel line. Here, hold on. Let me get it out of this vise. Okay. The fuel line, you're going to go ahead and empty your fuel. You want to use 50 to 1. I got sick of making my own, so I just bought that pre-mixed stuff right there. Just buy that. If you have any questions, if you're mixing it right or whatever, you always want to make sure there's oil in it, just buy that stuff. It's easier. So anyway, what I got going on here is I replaced that black fuel line. Now, I'll show you this real quick. If you take it off and you can't figure it out, this bottom one here, this actually goes to the fuel filter. All the way down inside, probably till about there, the lowest point in the tank. This line is your vent, and I only have it going to right around there. Anyway, so then I went ahead and did that. Take one hose at a time off, I recommend. So I took this one off, and I actually pulled it out, flipped it upwards, so I could actually get my fuel line out of there. Anyway, so what I did, first I took the line and I fished it down into here, and then I stuck this in here, flipped it up with the screwdriver so I could put my fuel filter on. And there's also a little spring doohickey, which didn't work very well, but you're going to make sure you don't lose that in the tank. If you do, tip it upside down. Anyway, that's holding on your fuel filter. Just take that loose, pull the fuel filter out, take the little spring thing out, and then you can pull your fuel line back through, and this one, and disconnect it there. But go ahead and put the new line in. I actually squeezed mine in, but if you want, cut it on an angle and it'll stick in a lot easier, and then pull it out and clip it square. Put your little spring clamp deal back on the line, and then work your fuel filter back into your fuel line. This one right here, that one. And then don't cut it yet. Put it down to about the lowest point in the tank when it's sitting like that. I got it right in there. So anyway, so your line's long. You want to kind of give it a little play in there, like I did, and then cut it to where it's going to work and shove it on the end there. And this one, same with this one. You want to cut it on an angle, push it in there, and then cut it square. It'll be a lot easier to get it in the hole, actually. So anyway, then cut it square, bring it up here, and also do that. And I had that much left over, which I will definitely use later. So I replaced that, and still my bubble wasn't getting hard. The rebuild kit they actually sell comes with a new bubble, and inside here there's a little diaphragm. You can see part of it sticking out there. So take that screw out, take that screw out, take your bubble off. I cleaned all my parts with starting fluid. And so this piece comes off, and then this piece right here I just flip back, and it's got a diaphragm in it with lots of little indentations, and underneath that on the top of the carburetor there's a whole bunch of little holes and a little screen in there. It's super small screen. It just pops right out. It doesn't even pop out, it pulls right out. I mean, it is about as big as a screw head, so don't lose it. Pull it out. I held onto it with pliers. I blew it out with starting fluid. I cleaned the whole area of everything with starting fluid. Lightly the diaphragm. Don't pull your diaphragm off, or you might end up ripping it and have to get a new one. I didn't have the money to get a kit. I just paid $6 for that hose and that tool. So anyway, you can use the tool if you want. The directions are the back. I didn't use mine because it's more of a pain in the butt than anything. Certain models you want it, certain models you really don't need it. So anyway, you got this diaphragm, right? And I had an air leak problem, which was why this thing wasn't getting hard on me. Sometimes they're cracked and bad. This one wasn't cracked, it's good. So what I did is I took everything off. I cleaned it real well, starting fluid in a rag, wiped it down good. And same with the diaphragm. And then I took, because I didn't have money for a gasket or a new diaphragm, so I took this stuff. It's non-hardening gasket, fuel resistant, and it'll toughen up a little bit. It'll get a little sticky, but it comes out kind of liquidy. So anyway, get a little on your finger like that, but you really don't want a whole lot. I actually put some on this eraser, and when I took it off, I went all the way around the edge, just barely, just like enough on the tip of your pencil to do it. Don't coat the whole thing in it. So I did that, and I went ahead and flipped over my diaphragm. Then I went over the edges of the diaphragm barely, and where there was metal, where there wasn't a lot of holes, I kind of touched it a little bit. I just got my finger not even wet, but sticky like that, and touched it around it, because you don't want to clog up those holes, or else you're going to have a problem, more of a problem. Definitely don't get it on the screen either. I went ahead and put the top of the carburetor, the big piece, back on, and then I blew this bubble out with starting fluid too. Cleaned it, make sure it didn't leak. And then when what I did with the bubble is I just turn the bubble upside down, and just the edge of the bubble. Don't get it on there, just kind of tack it like I did. Get the stuff a little bit sticky, put it around the edge, put it back through this thing, and then flip it upside down, and the bubble will sit in place on top of the ring it goes in with a little black dot on top of it. Don't mess with any of that, just make sure everything's good and clean. The bottom of my bubble, I got a little sticky. And then I went ahead and put the screws back in, and it actually says on here, pull it, press it 10 times, your bubble, you want it to get hard. If it doesn't get hard, you got probably an air leak or something, or a bad bubble. And then set it to A, which is in the down position, and go ahead and pull it. And let's see if I can do this. I got it in here just to help hold it a little bit. So I did that. And then I went ahead, I don't know how I can do this here with no hands. Anyway, so you're going to want to pull that and that at the same time. Mine's a spring switch, so it only stays in the on position, and you push the button and it kills it. So anyway, you hold this at the same time, pull that one up, and then you pull the string so many times and it'll start. But before I get to that, I watched some other videos on this. The guys had some information on adjusting these screws in here. My light won't work because my battery's almost dead. So anyway, what I did is I turned them all counterclockwise so they were closed. The guys recommended, see here, all counterclockwise right now. You can see the top of my tape. That's how I'm measuring how far I turn it. They said quarter turn. I haven't tried it on a quarter turn. I went 1 revolution and a half. So I went 360, and then I went another quarter. Or yeah, another half, sorry. So I'm going to turn it a quarter here and see if it starts. If you have a problem with that, go ahead and turn it a little bit more. Once you get it running, you can adjust it back down a quarter turn or whatnot. I'm not sure which is which. One's the air, one's the fuel. I don't know. Hopefully maybe somebody will comment on that. But anyway, that's what I did. I'm going to try it now in a quarter turn, but I know it started on a turn and a half for each of them. So, order this. It's $6. Otherwise, you can use a Bic pen or an electrical connector. Some people drilled it out. I don't recommend it, but hey, if it works, trust me, I was going to do it myself because I didn't have that tool at the time. So, that's what you got to do. Change your fuel line. I didn't have money for a fuel filter, so I actually held this starting fluid up to the fuel filter inlet, sprayed it in the inlet, and sprayed the whole thing down with it. And then feed your fuel lines through, check your bubble, and then if it's not getting hard but there's no holes in the bubble, you have an air leak somewhere coming out of one of your seals, either for the bubble or for the diaphragm on the carburetor. Remember, don't get anything in the holes or in the screen, just get it tacky. This stuff works great. I recommend this because it's liquid and it doesn't dry, so it's not gonna really clog it up too much. That's it. You might need pliers, you might need this tool, you need somehow some way to turn the D screws. Don't know the model. Now I'm going to put the fuel filter back on, put the cap back on, and I'm ready to go. If I have any other issues with the revs or anything like that, or not wanting to start, I'm going to go ahead, now that I know it's all sealed up and it'll start and the bubble gets hard. After 10 pulls, or 10 pokes, it'll get hard. That's what they recommend anyway. So that's it. That's all I got to say. This stuff's pretty good. It's stronger stuff. It's reinforced. It's got the little squiggly thing, the turn in it, that makes it a little harder. Right now it's got this red stuff. One way to know how to do this, to go ahead and get this off, actually. Notice it's got a rewind arrow going that way. Well, to get this off, you're going to push this down so this nut is actually locked into place into the little indentation it has. And turn it opposite of what the arrows are. So that's what you want to do. And I didn't have a way to hold it, so I used these. These are fuel filter vice grips. And I put them on there like that, locked them in place. Then I turned it, I adjusted my channel locks, and I turned it, let's see, I turned it going clockwise. I believe it was clockwise that it came off. If not, try the other way, but I'm pretty sure it's clockwise. And then you just want to wind up your string, and there's other videos on that. I'm not going to get into taking that off, but I'm going to run out of string here shortly, and I'm going to replace it with this heavy-duty stuff, because it's really good stuff. Anyway, that's all I got to say. I hope this helps somebody. I had to watch several videos and compile information, so hope that helps. Thanks, guys.